Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome to episode number 6 of the 10-minute Commander Guide series, where we quickly describe one or two possibilities on how to build around your commander. Our goal is to share new deck ideas and discover in order to build your decks faster, more synergy, and have more fun. Today's video is for Falco Spara, the Pactweaver. Generally, bird demons terrorize and prey on squirrels, fairies, and rarely humans. But your human opponent should be wary of the frightening 3/3 flying trample bird demon commander named Falco Spara Pactweaver. His text box reads, he enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it. A shield counter says it will be dealt damage or destroyed. Remove a shield counter from it instead. You also may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control, in addition to paying their other costs. To summarize, Falco Spara is a flying trample creature with Sensei Divine Top's abilities. Ish. Did you know the color combination for Falco's casting cost is called Brokers, not Bant? In the Streets of New Capenna set, this color guild is specific for the crime families. The Bant guild started from the Shards of Alara set. The strategy with Falco Spara is to be an inconspicuous Voltron Commander. The top card of the library will be manipulated to cast power boost spells, mainly instants or sorceries, or to find equipments. Secondly, the creatures are a source for different types of counters. You will discover new abilities that use the +1/+1 counters and want to proliferate even more. Let's start off with creatures to get you excited about building this strategy. If you're new to Magic, you may not know the ability called Graft. Graft allows creatures to enter the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter, and when another creature enters the battlefield, you may move a +1/+1 counter onto that creature. What makes this unique are the creatures providing unique abilities, such as the Plaxcaster Frogling. This frog is no croak. He has Graft 3 and can give a creature Shroud until end of turn if you have a +1/+1 counter on them. All you need to do is tap 2 colorless mana. The idea with Plaxcaster Frogling and the other creatures with Graft is to have them on the battlefield before you cast Falco. When you cast Falco, you can move a +1/+1 counter onto him and provide him with an extra ability or protection. Cytoplast Manipulator. She enters the battlefield with Graft 2 and is expensive at 4 mana. However, you can gain control of creatures who have +1/+1 counters on them. Yes, you can put a +1/+1 counter on your opponent's creatures when they enter the battlefield. She can be used more for defensive purposes and steal your opponent's creatures. This tactic could stop vital creature combos and give you political power, or make your opponents cautious playing bigger creatures or adding +1/+1 counters onto them. Use her wisely. Vegan Hydropon. The plant mutant has Graft 5 and can't attack or block. I say cannot. Basically a +1/+1 counter source for an amazing rate. 3 mana to have 5 +1/+1 counters that you can move on to other creatures or to put the top card of your library with Falco. If an opponent spends a removal spell to get rid of the vegan Hydropon, they literally wasted a removal, which is good for you. Phantom Nantuko. This man-sized insect is a self-generating +1/+1 creature with additional abilities. Even though it does have trample, you're not going to attack with it. However, he makes a great blocker by preventing damage done to him by removing a counter. Then you can replace a counter, therefore temporarily nullifying single combat ground attackers. But his real strength is adding additional counters to use for Falco's ability to play cards from the top of your library. Next up, we have Pactweaver. This 4 mana ferocious slug leech thing comes with 3 +1/+1 counters. He may not have Graft, but it does prevent combat damage when you remove a +1/+1 counter. It even gives you the extra option to move counters from one creature to another. Take advantage of lands entering the battlefield with Landfall Triggers. These spells allow us more flexibility and to make use of the top card of your library when you haven't dropped the land yet, or can drop an additional land per turn. First card is Felidar Retreat. Synergizes well with Falco, pretty much any card really, by adding a +1/+1 counter to play the top card and giving him Vigilance, since he will be attacking as your inconspicuous Voltron Commander. In case you're in need of chump blockers, it can create 2/2 Cat Beast tokens to ward off attackers. Retreat to Kanzandu. It is an enchantment that adds +1/+1 counters to any creature. Think about your creatures with Graft or even Pactweaver. Next up is Top Deck Manipulation. Let's be honest, the best card you will need if you can afford it will be Sensei's Divine Top. Outside of that card, our card draw manipulation will be scrying or using enchantments. First, we're going to talk about enchantments. Cream of the Crop. This green enchantment allows you to view cards equal to the creature's power upon entering the battlefield and place the desired card on top. It's another creative way to search through your deck without attracting all the attention like a tutor. Soothsaying. Manipulate your deck at will or just shuffle your library. I could argue this card is underrated because it's powerful in the early, mid, or late game. Next up are instances. First card is Trickery Charm. This instant gives casters several options. Here they are. Target creature gains flying until end of turn. Target creature becomes a creature type of your choice until end of turn. And finally, look at the top 4 cards of your library and put them back in any order. Did you hear the last line of text? I might as well say SCRY 4 for 1 blue mana at instant speed. Next card is Long-Term Plans, an instant speed tutor with a drawback placing the card third from the top. This can cause the illusion of borrowed time for your opponents, but with enough +1/+1 counters, third from the top is easily accessible. Next up are artifacts. Crystal Ball, SCRY for 2 for 1 mana, straight to the point. Next up is Darksteel Pendant, another SCRY 1 for 1, except this time the artifact costs 2 mana. Next category is Power Boost cards. We will start off with equipments. First card is Black Blade Reforged. It's the Voltron staple. It says equip creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and equip legendary creature for 3 colorless mana. Next is Sword of Hours. Whenever equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage, roll a 12-sided dice. If the result is greater than the damage dealt, or the result is 12, double the number of +1/+1 counters on that creature. Equip it for 2. If you have this equipped to Falco and you successfully roll a high number, the game will be over. Essentially, you're giving him a power boost and the opportunity to cast cards from the top of your deck. Next up in the Power Boost category, we have Instants and Sorceries. Might of Oaks. Slap +7/+7 on Falco to end the game with commander damage. Next card is Stonewood Invocation. It has split second. As long as the spell is on the stack, players can't play spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Target creature gets +5/+5 until end of turn and can't be the target of spells or abilities this turn. The ultimate Power Boost spell, which gives your creatures hexproof and +5/+5 with the split second ability. That just stops all the interaction and possible interactions that might remove Falco. Okay, so now the next 2 cards meet the requirements for Isochron Scepter. If you can add these 2 Power Boost cards with Isochron Scepter, your opponents will have a tough time dealing with Falco. First card is Might of Nephilim. Extremely great rate, giving Falco +6/+6 for 2 CMC at instant speed because he has 3 colors. Next up is Solidarity of Heroes. You can double the counters on any of your creatures all at the same time at instant speed. For example, Graph Creatures and Pactweaver, which I mentioned earlier. Moving on to our final category of high synergy cards, we have Vorel of the Hulklade, another staple for the counters theme. He can double the amount of counters on target creature, land, or artifact, and you should target your creatures with Graft. Next, we have Gildebarn. This creature allows you to replace any type of counter on creatures. Target Falco Spara if he has a shield counter on him still. The only weakness shield counters have are removal spells that exile. We have Vision of Dominance. We're going to get into cards that are counter increasing. So Vision of Dominance, it may be slow and junky, but it does have flashback. So put a +1/+1 counter on a creature and then double it. Imagine Pactweaver preventing an entire turn rotation of combat damage when you remove 3 +1/+1 counters and pay 3 mana total. Then opponents may not even be able to attack you also. Finally, then since Falco is your commander, its flashback cost will be 6 mana total. Flashback provides the security of being able to cast a card after you forcefully or unwillingly discarded a card. Finally, we have Invigorating Surge. It does the same by putting a +1/+1 counter and then doubling it. However, it doesn't have flashback, but it is an instant card for 3 mana. Instant spells are stronger in the commander format. Finally, we have Branching Evolution and Hardening Scales. It says for Branching Evolution, whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters will be put on a creature you control, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. Think of your Graph Creatures. They come in with double. Hardening Scales, same thing, except for you can only put an additional 1 +1/+1 counter. The idea is to drop any of the counter sources onto the battlefield and then cast your commander Falco. Manipulate your deck to scry or manipulate your library. Once you cast your commander, equip and attack for commander damage. Thank you for watching the 10-Minute Commander Guide for Falco Spara. Feel free to leave a comment below. What did you guys think about the strategy with Falco Spara? How did you build Falco Spara yourself?